Hey everyone, hey and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching The Watchmen. This is the start of a new series on the channel where we're not going through Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons as such. We're going through Geoff Johns and, what's his name, Gary Frank. Had to quickly look that up. Shout out Gary Frank, he's a fellow Brit. We're going through Doomsday Clock, which you may be aware of. It's essentially Watchmen 2, it seems, at least from the first issue. It's quite exciting, and there's quite a little bit of serendipity, really, in the fact that we start doing a show on Watchmen, and pretty soon after, the sequel to Watchmen is coming out in stores. So, yeah, Doomsday Clock...
They're all jumping on the bandwagon. I'm sick of them. We thought we did unique doing a Watchmen podcast. About 50 of them have popped up in the last week.
That's true. There is...
all with better names.
I think Damon Lindelof is like on one as well, so it's kind of like, oh shit, you know, can't... Maybe we can get him on.
Well, maybe we might have Alan Moore on this episode later.
To review Doomsday Clock. That'd be pretty...
Yeah. So keep an eye out for that, listeners.
So Doomsday Clock, which we're going to get into, as we say, I'm sure you're aware if you listen to Watchmen, if you know about Watchmen, is a sequel. As I say, it's a 12-issue run. It's officially in stores. It's not kind of a trade paperback or hardback or whatever. Me and Def are having to pick up the issues month by month. And we've got issue 1 in front of us now. We've read it. I'm sure you've probably read it. I'm going to just go through it and offer our thoughts on this series, I should say, just before we get involved into that. Please subscribe to the show. Please comment. I want to say thank you to everyone that's listening. The listenership has been picking up stronger and stronger each week. We're getting a consistent download base now, which is awesome. If you want to get in touch with the show, watchingthewatchmanpod@gmail.com. What are your thoughts on Doomsday Clock or any of the issues that we've read in the past? I've gotten loads of great emails that we're going to be reading out on the next episode, which I believe is the Abyss case, is also the Rorschach issue 6. So send your messages in. We'll definitely read them out as well. Share the episodes, recommend to fellow Watchmen fans, fellow graphic novel fans. But we're going to get into this. Def, how's it going, man?
Yeah, really good. So I'm a bit annoyed at Warner Brothers and DC at the moment, because it took us absolutely ages to edit this, ranking the Batman films from 1966 to Justice League. Ages it was. I had to download all the clips, edit them. You know what? It was the first ever YouTube video I did with video in instead of just static images. Anyway, I upload it unlisted. Warner Brothers put a bloody copyright strike on my channel.
Oh.
So what I've been doing since then, I've been a massive DC fan for the past 15 years. I've bought loads of their graphic novels. I've started buying bloody Marvel ones instead.
Holy shit.
Yesterday, I got myself the Marvel Blu-ray Phase 1 collection. And I bought Civil War for 67 pence on Amazon.
Okay.
I bought Old Man Logan. I bought Daredevil. I'm going on a Marvel binge buy. You know what I'm saying, Tom?
I get that.
Fuck DC. Fuck Warner Brothers. I'm not giving them any more money. What do you mean they've just released a single issue of Watchmen for £5? Take me money. Take me money.
And this is
part the Patreon as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That, I mean, Def's Patreon is. Hopefully, you can get on board. The servers are overloaded because people are donating there, but maybe. So yeah. I mean, I don't. This is, as with all bloody giant DC Marvel comic things, it's not just one story. There's loads of issues beforehand that, give context and explain things. So I haven't actually read sort of the precursors to Doomsday Clock, such as The Button. Give us a quick sort of, preamble, quick play-by-play.
Well, luckily, Tom, you don't need to have read it at all because it doesn't really tie into this.
Oh.
Basically, what happens in The Button is Batman and Flash... they get attacked by the Reverse Flash, who travels through time, comes back like seconds later. He's been attacked by Dr. Manhattan. He says he's seen God. This all happened because he touched the button, the famous button from Watchmen, with the comedian's button.
Oh, yeah.
Well, first off, it's not a button, it's a badge. But we'll skip all that. It's a badge. So they kind of go searching for exactly what happened. They travel through time. Batman meets his dad in the Flashpoint universe, who was Batman. basically all that. Yeah, it's doesn't really massively influence it that much. There was also DC Rebirth as well, which just kind of hinted that the Watchmen existed within the DC universe, but it wasn't. I don't really think they're necessities. You want to just dive straight into Doomsday Clock.
And Doomsday Clock as a whole, as an issue, every time we're discussing Watchmen, we're always looking at the front cover first, what it can tell us. I mean, it's pretty clear it's a Watchmen comic, isn't it? It's got Doomsday Clock up the spine in the yellow and black. It's got the clock, the artwork. You can see fucking Ozymandias with a cross over his face. There. It's quite an interesting cover, if anything else.
Yeah, and it says January 2018 at the bottom. Yeah. Which I never get why they do it all the time with comics where they put like 2 months ahead on it.
Yeah.
So if someone can explain why that is, I know magazines often do 1 month ahead, but this is like January. It says
Dr. Manhattan, man, he's messing with the publishing timeline.
He's crazy, that lad.
I'll change the world.
Blue, dabba-dee, dabba-die. Come on.
So here we have, I guess if you've watched Watchmen, the cover's kind of. You can sort of anticipate what's happening here, the aftermath of what's called the Great Lie in the comic books, the sort of squid attack. I mean, we're seeing the hoi polloi. We're seeing, basically Rorschach's sign yet again. There's a Molotov and a lit bottle in the top right. It's not exactly more Gibbons, but I can deal with it.
Yeah. What's annoying is it now ruins the ending of Watchmen instantly. So all those 12 issues of Watchmen for 30-year legacy, all the murder in New York and the attacks in Russia and stuff like that, all the characters going through inner turmoil. Yeah, they were all a waste of time because the lads have found out it was all a lie.
Yeah, it was. It's confusing that they kept going with the story, but I guess we've just got to keep going with it as well. And I don't know about you, but just in a general sense, I was expecting it to be, at least, in the first issue, the DC Universe meets Watchmen, but effectively it's Watchmen 2.
Yeah, it literally is. They throw Superman in at the end, but it's very ham-fisted and doesn't feel like it ties into the plot really at all. No. I mean, they mentioned Dr. Manhattan's God, and then they tie that into Superman being God, but this literally didn't need that, to be honest.
No, it didn't, and we begin, it's going to be like fucking Force Awakens, isn't it? It's going to be like, it's kind of New Hope, it's like everything's kind of, so we open with pulling out from something, whereas where it was a button, now it's the end is near sign, and it's just a bit kind of, there's homage, and then there's just pandering.
Yeah, and one of my biggest problems with this issue is they literally write it exactly as Alan Moore would have wrote it. Yeah. But Alan Moore never would have wrote something exactly like someone else, so it's kind of paradoxical. It's very much, it's like copying someone's homework, I'd put it as. You try and change bits and bobs there, but it shouldn't be credited to you. It should be credited to the other person, their brilliance. Yeah. So I mean, obviously they want to keep the aesthetic of Watchmen, so it kind of will be interesting to see, because I know Before Watchmen is really different in Moore's work, and as we get onto that, it'll kind of be interesting to see which we prefer. But for now, I'm just kind of I've seen it done better by the original writer.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the trap that a lot of creatives are falling into at the moment. Not only in this, in Hollywood, where they're pretty much just remaking someone's work instead of making their own. And it's always going to have that kind of shadow over the top of it.
It is, and someone like Moore as well, who's got such an individual genius. I mean, every episode we praise just his writing, not the story, just literally how good he writes characters and how good he describes things. And you know, when I was first reading this issue, and, you know, spoilers, I thought it was Rorschach. Obviously, it's not Rorschach. I can kind of forgive some of the hamminess because it's not Rorschach, so I guess that's what they're going for. But even then, it's just a bit... Like, I've read a bit of Geoff Johns before, and, like, he's more of a story guy to me. I think his actual kind of pen writing is a bit flat.
See, I really like him in general. Like, I absolutely love his Batman Earth 1 series. His Justice League run, I thought was phenomenal. His Flash... Even his Flash stuff was really, really good, and he revitalized a lot of the characters. What a lot of people criticize him for, and some people praise him for, is that he sort of takes things back to the status quo.
Right.
Like a lot of his... Basically brought Barry Allen back from the dead after 20 years, and a lot of people praised him for how he was able to recapture the original spirit and, you know, feeling of those Flash books that Barry Allen was a major part of. And a lot of his work, it sort of is derivative, and I do really like it, but I can see why people would have problems with it. However, this book, I'm kind of like, yeah, you took it a bit too far, and it sort of feels like it's not your work. Like, Geoff Johns is a really good writer, and he could have done so much more.
Yeah. This is the impossible job to a certain extent.
Dude, just don't do it. That's the thing. Don't do it. And IGN and stuff are giving it like 9 out of 10s, and I'm just thinking, like, you know, have you recently read the original? Because I think the fact that we have might shine this in a bad light. Like, if you'd read the original like 2 or 3 years ago, you might pick this up and go, ooh, you know, it's something new, it's something fresh. Where I think we're like, you're ruining my childhood. You're ruining it. George Lucas, you ruined it.
I don't know. I think if I still read this without reading Watchmen, I'd be a bit... It's just a bit on the nose. Like, there's certain things I like visually. I like them going towards the Vite Plaza and the broken bottle kind of mirroring the V. Like, again, it's a bit kind of... I don't like Make America Safe Again with that sign. There is no real purpose for that other than a wink wink. And we've seen so many Make X Again parodies already. It was just a bit like, you know, this is kind of a bit of a dead reference. And... so much. Honestly,
I really don't think there would be an uprising like this. I think people are too apathetic and stuck, you know, in their "I'll let someone else sort this out" mindset. There was a great bit in the Dark Knight 3, The Master Race, where the Kryptonians invade Earth, and no one really cares because they're all just walking around looking at their phones. And the Kryptonians are like hovering above them, like, why won't they pay attention to us? So they just go and destroy like all the mobile satellites in the world. And then suddenly people like start looking up from their phones and like, oh my God, we have to take down this threat. I mean, people are just so apathetic. I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but bloody Bush did 9/11.
Holy shit.
I don't really think that, but, you know. There's a lot of people who do, and there hasn't been any kind of uprising against it. So I really don't see why, just because Rorschach's journal was found with, saying Adrian Veidt destroyed several capital cities, that people would suddenly leap to their feet and do something about it.
I guess it's on the front of the main paper, you know, and it's kind of being pushed by the media. But yeah, I get what you're saying. And there's so many moments in this issue where I'm like, oh, this location, like when they enter, obviously we see the Egyptian head where he killed the assassin. But it's just juxtaposition's the name of the game in Watchmen, and them saying we shattered the American dream and a brick shattering glass. It's just a bit broad.
Yeah, it's sort of on the nose, isn't it? Yeah. And I think we are lucky that we did recently read issue 5, because I probably wouldn't have remembered that Sphinx head pool that the assassin got murdered in. There are some nice callbacks, like the Great Lie newspapers surrounded by Ozymandias dolls on the desk, which it's the same angle that appeared in the original comic, but it just kind of feels like there's nothing that really comes from this uprising. Like, I was really hoping, because a couple of months ago Geoff Johns did like a preview of the first couple of pages, And I was hoping that the people were finally going to like get Ozymandias and like tear him limb from limb. But there's nothing that really comes from this other than the people don't like him.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of when the sort of anti-supers break into Hollis Mason's garage and sort of kill him, and it's kind of got that sort of mob mentality, and the world is sort of spelt out. Comics have to do this, so I'm not really blaming Geoff Johns to sort of spell out the geopolitical landscape. The best way to do it is through news reports, so, the world's pretty much the same.
Yeah, which, to me, you do one or the other. I mean, it proudly puts on the front that this is a 12-issue run. And when stuff's getting at the same point as getting put across twice, it's just kind of like you're just wasting time a bit.
Yeah. There's a lot of time wasting in this issue. There's a lot. There's some nice moments because they have to randomize it. So I like how hundreds have broken through the wall and flooded into Mexico. 1,000 more are predicted to follow, which is nice. We see sort of the president's golf bag as well. It's all very sort of like wink, wink, but it's it's fine. And then we get updates on how our Watchmen friends are doing. Dr. Manhattan's still missing. Comedian was murdered. The cancer theories mentioned. Night Owl is gone. Silk Spectre has vanished. Ozzy remains at large. I don't really. Maybe I'm just not getting this. I don't really understand this sequence where the guys are breaking into this snow palace and then witnessing like a ultra scan. What is that?
Ozymandias has got brain cancer.
Oh, of course
basically,
he has.
That's meant to show that.
Okay.
Which again is another point that
it's a bit. Won't you leave it there just for
They say it once and then they say it later in the issue.
Yeah.
They could have done it either way, to be honest. So I don't know why it's. But let the lad's obviously got his job for the reason that he's good. So let the lad tell his story, man. Yeah. Tom, stop slagging him off, please.
I guess it's just, I don't know. It's just the huge reaction this has gotten. And it's like, and I don't want to be a snob, but I just I think the whole thing's okay. I read quite a lot of comics now, and I'm often like, bloody hell, I'm really like pumped after reading something. And this, I'm just a bit like,
yeah. Well, I sort of suppose that Rorschach's work inevitably led on a destructive and chaotic path, which sort of symbolises Rorschach himself. So, Rorschach through his life he just did everything his own way, no compromises. So obviously a legacy left behind by him is sort of going to shadow that. So I suppose this is sort of what happens when you follow madmen blindly. The order's gone and chaos is now king.
You could argue that being a successful hero or superhero is creating a legacy. Look at Night Owl, for example, with Dan following Hollis, and it's kind of a compliment in a twisted way to Rorschach's means that someone else takes up his mantle after he dies.
Yeah, and just the people in general just going mental and smashing stuff up.
Yeah.
So the world's pretty much Rorschach now.
Yeah, and we meet Rorschach. Am I allowed to call him Raw Black? Is that on PC?
That's a bit racist, to be honest.
Okay, let's not continue that. But so we're in the prison, as we always are with Watchmen to a certain extent. And
that's really racist, Tom. You better apologise.
And I've got to say, the shot when we get into the keys being punched, and then Rorschach, I'll call it Rorschach, bending down with the keys, and we have that.
You're bloody better.
Like. I don't know about you, my heart swelled when I saw that. It was pretty fucking cool to see Rorschach back in the comics.
Yeah, it was. And that moment's instantly taken away later when you find out that it's not actually Rorschach.
Yeah.
It's a lovely panel, though.
What were you thinking when you first read this? Were you thinking?
I was like, oh, he's back. The lad is back.
But
yeah, just disappointment. Not because I'm a racist.
No.
Not like you.
So yeah, we have Rorschach wandering through. We have his journal again, which again is sort of signs to the fact that maybe it's not him. There's an annoying thing for me, and I don't know if I'm being really petty here, but basically he talks about getting revenge on someone's boyfriend in quite a brutal Rorschach way. Broke hands, put fork through tongue, forgot to tell him why. And there's a later sequence when him and Marionette and the mime are going, and the Marionette says the same thing. Says like, "I'll stick a tongue through your fork into a table." And it's just like, Geoff, could you not replicate that? Is that okay? Or
yeah, well, to me, I'm going to be proper meta right now, but a new person taking up the mantle of Rorschach, copying the exact same way he talks, all his mannerisms. It's sort of similar to the way that Geoff Johns has taken up the mantle of Alan Moore and copied all of his mannerisms, all the way he talks, and just regurgitated everything that he's done. So well done, Geoff Johns. You've managed to analyse yourself and media in general, where people are just taking the same old ideas, regurgitating them, and making them a bit shitter.
I like that. I think Geoff has probably donned a huge beard. He's now worshipping a snake sex god, living in Northampton. I think he's gone full Alan Moore, which is not a bad place to be. Again, my problem with a lot of this issue is a very long section, which essentially boils down to new Rorschach getting people out of prison and taking them somewhere. In Moore's universe, this would have taken a few panels. Here, it takes most of the bloody book. Yeah,
and what's annoying is the book introduces 3 new characters, and all of them are pretty crap.
Yeah.
We also have Russia invading Poland as well. I don't actually remember if in the original Watchmen book, if the Second World War happened. Do you?
Not well. Vietnam.
Vietnam definitely did, obviously, but the Second World War, I can't remember if that happened or not.
I don't know if it's even mentioned, to be honest with you, but maybe it didn't.
That's the thing, yeah. Which obviously, if it didn't happen, then Russia doing this is going to be a huge thing. So it is. It's quite a big thing. Rorschach, they have captured exactly how Rorschach was. Like, he speaks in definitive statements.
Mm-hmm.
It's all black and white, not black like that. You've fucking racist.
What have I done?
Yeah, and it's just all very, hear them behind the doors, hear them all screaming to get out, silence. It's all very definitive. So they have managed to recapture that, but don't know. It was disappointing when I seen it wasn't actually the real Rorschach. People come back in comics all the time. Like, there's only 2 people who've ever stayed dead. Well, you know what? I was going to say Uncle Ben and the Waynes, but obviously Thomas Wayne's come back now as fucking Batman. So, no one ever stays dead in comics. So it would have been nice to kind of see them bring them back in a different way.
Yeah.
Instead of just having someone else copy it, unless Geoff Johns was purposely like, look, I'm stealing all this stuff and making it look like I'm Alan Moore, but I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Wink, wink.
Yeah. I mean,
which obviously Geoff Johns listens to this podcast, so he's probably going to say that.
Yeah, it's a shame. Maybe like when he was vaporized in the Snow Palace, it kind of allowed him to. I don't know. They could have done something. No one would have been too annoyed, but it's not. It's someone else taking up the mantle.
Do you think it's going to be anyone from the main story?
Involved in what? I mean, there's theories that it's the therapist or the Black Freighter kid. It could be.
Yeah, I was going to say the Black Freighter kid. Another theory that I've seen that might be true is it's the Question.
Right.
So,
that's good.
Yeah, which is obviously a DC Universe character. So if people don't know, basically when DC bought Charlton Comics, they got the rights to characters like Blue Beetle, Captain Atom, the Question, who Moore wanted to use for Watchmen, but DC wouldn't let him do it. So it would be good if it was like a cool little twist that the character that Rorschach was based on actually was the character from the DC Universe. Within the DC Universe, basically, when the New 52 happened, Pandora, the Phantom Stranger, and the Question were all sort of this trinity of evil characters that were cursed to walk the earth forever, sort of going through things like the Phantom Stranger wouldn't be able to know anyone. Pandora was sort of cursed. And the question was basically someone who, as soon as if they didn't know the answer to something, it like burned inside of them and they had to investigate it and get to the bottom of it. So it would be good if that kind of turned out to be Rorschach, and it would easily meld the two universes together, because the question is sort of a mystical figure, and he could probably travel through dimensions. So that would be like a cool little thing. I was thinking the Black Freighter got kid as well, but I'm pretty sure he gets killed.
Yes. Yeah. You see them sort of embracing, don't you, as the atomic bomb?
Yeah.
It wouldn't make. Yeah, how would? Yeah, that's right. Actually, how would he survive? Yeah.
And I forgot to mention that Dr. Manhattan actually kills Pandora at the start of Rebirth.
Okay.
So one of the people that was very closely linked with the question, Dr. Manhattan's murdered. So yeah, it might kind of tie into that, but we'll see. It could just be a bloody anyone, to be honest.
It could be, and these characters.
It could be your mate Tom, because I know you've got loads of black mates. Yeah. By the way, go on.
And the characters that we're meeting as well, Marionette and Mime, are Charlton Comics characters in themselves.
Okay. Right, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Punch and Julie. They first appeared in Captain Atom 85 in 1967, which was drawn by Steve Ditko. They've actually appeared in Batman as well, and on a Secret Suicide Squad mission.
Oh, yeah, they have, yeah.
Yeah, so they've been around in various forms. So again, Johns is playing with that Charlton aesthetic, which I really like.
They appeared recently in Batman, like one of the latest graphic novels they were in, but I didn't realise that was Punch and Judy. I thought it was just...
Yeah,
Julie was it? Sorry,
Julie. Yeah. It's a very, very subtle thing there, and another subtle thing that I like here, because obviously we're diehard Watchmen fans, so whenever anyone makes a reference that only we would get, it is nice. And I like when she's playing with Rorschach's identity and saying, "You said you dropped me. You said you throw me down an elevator shaft the next time we met," and he said, "It wasn't me, not the same guy, different." Obviously, he's referring to what old Rorschach did to Captain Carnage, which is referenced, I think, by Dryberg and Silk Spectre on the rooftop at the end of the first issue. But it's just nice. It's world building.
Yeah, and it's up until that moment where he takes his hand off. I was all in on this book, even if I did have some problems with the start. But yeah, I don't know why. So she's still trusting of this Rorschach character, even though she knows that the original hated her. I don't know. I don't really know how this is going to pay off, to be honest.
No, it's a bit of a shame that it's sort of a rescue mission for a child. It's just it feels a bit small, really, for something like this.
Yeah. A bit cliche as well. Like, we're going to save your kid. Like, you know what I mean? After 30 years, when they're talking about like getting the DC universe and the Watchmen universe and putting them together, I thought like it would open on, I don't know, Superman landing in the Watchmen universe and seeing the world getting torn apart, but it's just
I mean, we're in our first issue. We can't be too critical, but again, just
Tom, we can.
The next two panels are literally him showing a photo, them fighting and arguing back and forth. It's not that interesting.
No,
and eventually we get the Mime next, who we meet. A lot of people as well have compared Punch and Julie to Harley Quinn and Joker, which I guess they are kind of these malevolent, murderous love couples.
Yeah, it's a nice archetype. So maybe they're going to kind of team up down the line or something. But for the moment, you're taking up a massive chunk of the first issue with these characters that I don't know why I should care.
They're not interesting, are they?
No. And even in the Batman book, I literally read that book last week on my website, Deffinition.co.uk. Yeah, and the fact that I didn't even draw those comparisons shows how uninteresting they were in that book. Like, they were such side characters in that they just leave no impression. So I don't know why they've been brought into this so massively. I mean, there might be like, Star Trek Red Shirts, it's called, where they just send people on missions to get killed. Do you know that saying, Tom?
I'm aware of it, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, when Star Trek, when Captain Kirk and the lads used to go down to a planet, they'd always take some lads down with them, wouldn't they? The ones in the red shirts, just so that people could get killed off, so it looked like there was stakes. But these characters, no one gave a shit about them. They were just there to get murdered. So maybe it's going to be like one of them. You never know, but I doubt it.
Yeah, and the mime in prison, waiting for them to come to get him, is similar to when Walter Kovacs was sitting in prison, waiting for all the prisoners who want to cut him up. Which is I love. Obviously, Rorschach in prison, some of the best stuff in Watchmen. But yeah, he gets picked up, he gets manhandled, he doesn't fight back, and then eventually Rorschach gets involved, he gets rescued. Pretty brutal scenes here. The guy's teeth being smashed on the bar, and then you don't quite see the mime fight. You kind of see that his sort of flurry move at the end, where it's very theatrical. And then what do you make of his face? That crazed face with blood on the mouth.
Yeah, I sort of do see the Joker comparisons there. Obviously, like the blood sort of looks like a red lipstick smile. Yeah, maybe that's what they're doing. But I don't really care. I mean, you've already got the Joker, so yeah, I'll stick with the character who's been around for 75 years and is often cited as one of the best villains in any media. I'll stick with him, Johns. Thanks.
What?
Thanks all the same, though. Yeah.
You haven't got time for the guy who gets his gimmicky, weapons from an empty locker.
Nah, not anymore, Tom.
No.
I'm off to Marvel now. I'm off Marvel. I'm off to Marvel. Sod these lads. That's what happens when you put a copyright strike on my channel.
I'm really not game with him getting the utility belt out of the locker. I think it's badly drawn as well. For one, it's just not really. There's no real weight to his actions, and it's kind of explaining him as a force. Like, okay, so he's clearly very deadly, but he has his own rules. We got to obey them. But it's just a little bit twee.
Yeah. Just kill the lad, Rorschach. Just kill him the first chance you get. Yep. Just get rid of the lad. Please, John. Please write him out.
And it doesn't stop. They go out to the car. They have an argument about the colour of the car. I quite like, well, you can't see through this mask. I can see through it perfectly, sort of thing. Obviously, we discussed this before, the way that Rorschach views the world. But these three as a trio, they're just not very interesting the way they play off each other.
Yeah, one of the in Rebirth, basically they introduced the idea that there were three Jokers. So Batman basically sits on the Mobius chair, which gives the person sat in it all of the information in the universe. And he asks who's the Joker, and it answers back that there's three. So maybe this is one of the Jokers that they're kind of bringing into it. He might end up being the first Joker, or he could be the second, or something like that. We'll just have to see how it pays off. But for the moment, I'm just like, I don't really care.
No. There's evacuations happening in New York. Mandatory ones as well. It's not quite clear what's happening, but obviously the world is in some serious peril. We are, we're back again in similar surroundings.
I do quite like how all of the cars driving away from the city are sort of those futuristic, round ones, whereas the one Rorschach's driving is sort of a, it's a old, beat up car. It's sort of shown that this guy's stuck in the past almost, while everyone who's in the future is sort of moving away from this metropolis, whilst he's sort of heading back there.
Yeah. And we see the Gunga Diner as well. We see him sort of crawling beneath the sewers. It's all very Superman-esque. We're in. When the mime points an imaginary gun at Rorschach, are you with that?
No.
Yeah, it's a bit. I don't know. It's just
because the real Rorschach would have just turned around and broke his fingers.
He would have done. Yeah, he would have done. Yeah. Definitely.
He threw a guy down an elevator shaft for shouting "Punish me." So he would not be putting up with any of this lad shit.
No, but here they all are going back through, essentially back to the Batcave of this universe, into Dan Drybeck's. But again, it's just so slow. There's literally 3 pages of them going underground and reaching it. It's kind of crazy. Eventually,
I do like how the 2 of the sewer tunnels sort of look like Archie's.
Yeah.
eyes, like the Night Owl's ship. But other than that,
yeah, we see Archie as well, briefly, and you see the Night Owl suit, and there's lots of cool stuff. And then from the Shadow's death, it's Ozymandias.
Yeah, and he comes out like a James Bond villain.
Yeah,
petting a cat. He's got his pet Lynx back. He's in full costume, which I don't really know why, to be honest.
No,
because is this symbolised? And he's like back in that mantle of, because in the majority of Watchmen he was wearing a suit. And he's I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, and for some reason he needs the help of these people to find Dr. Manhattan, and Rorschach's involved, and it's all a bit. And in your first issues, you have to get all your characters together to push forward. I understand that, it's got to be a little bit messy, but it doesn't really cohere for me naturally.
No, it just seems like, hey, remember this? Okay, now remember this bit. Hey, remember this? It's just sort of, remember, Johns. What's the actual plot of this book? Please tell me what the plot is.
Yeah. There's lots of kind of cute interactions between them, but then you realise it's not actually Rorschach, so it's like, well, this isn't that much fan service. I mean, he has like a little Boobastis with him as well, and he's reminiscing, because we learn in the newspaper article at the end of the issue that I think it was like the 7 years following was actually really good for the world, and then obviously people found out, and it's put into this death spiral, which inevitably was going to happen. Him saying laughing until it hurts, it's quite good artwork, actually. You can see the sort of the frustration in his project.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just kind of like the Watchmen, the original book, opens on comedian getting murdered, and you're just kind of like, whoa, someone actually murdered a superhero. Whereas this, it's like, just getting characters together.
He has cancer, which is apparently some sort of projecting narrative force for him now. It's like,
Yeah, which I suppose it's ironic because he obviously gave so many people cancer and blamed Dr. Manhattan for giving people cancer. But, yeah.
I don't know if they were like super intelligent telekinesis people, okay, maybe they can find Dr. Manhattan. I just don't know how these street fighters, Marionette and Mime, are going to help the project. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either, which is why I kind of think they're red shirts.
Yeah.
Or that one of them's going to become the Joker, and maybe the other one will become Harley Quinn.
Or their kid is important in some way, maybe. But
yeah.
I mean, that is essentially how the story ends. You get a quick sort of glimpse back into the final issue, which is brilliant. I love, I mean, obviously we're going to cover this in the show, but when the final Dr. Manhattan and Ozymandias interaction, where Ozzy is left with no satisfaction at all and sort of pondering what he's done. That is our mission. We need to find John. And then we cut to good old Clark in this final sequence, which, again, it's just like, I can't stand people waking up from dreams and then predicting the future of the story. It's so lazy.
Yeah, it's like that thing where they show like a climactic thing at the start of something and then go 3 weeks earlier.
Yep.
And it's just kind of like, oh, you're lazy. Start the story where it should be. Like, give me a good introduction and I'll care about it. Don't start the story at the interesting part and then take me to a more boring one. And I don't know if I kind of took from it that where Dr. Manhattan's saying, I'm leaving this galaxy for one less complicated, that he either created the DC universe or he might have created Krypton and then from there sent Superman back to Earth. But I don't really know how the two universes intertwine.
No.
It's just kind of, here's one universe. Like, if you were reading this and you weren't aware of the multiverse in the DC universe, you would just think that they all exist on the same planet.
Yeah.
And you would be like, well, why is Superman not getting involved in stopping Ozymandias? Like, there's no clear-cut narrative that this is a different universe. And one of my biggest problems with as much as I love the DC movies, they require a lot of prior knowledge. Like Justice League, you pretty much have to know all of the backstories already for the heroes. because they give very little indication of exactly what's happened. And yeah, it's to me, it's bad writing that you're not only opening on a dream, you're also like not explaining to new readers that this is a different universe.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one of the things that Johns continues that I like is the books in Watchmen. There's lots of references to very arcane stuff. We see on Superman's shelf, his bedside, Walden 2 by B.F. Skinner, which I'm literally reading off Wikipedia. I've not heard of it before. Obviously, I've heard of Walden. Walden's quite a famous old American text from the 1850s about sort of self-reliance and spiritualism in nature and stuff like that. Very influential. Walden 2 is a utopian novel, first published in 1948. In its time, it could have been considered science fiction, since science-based methods for altering people's behaviour did not exist yet. It's controversial because its characters speak of a rejection of free will, including rejection of the proposition that human behaviour is controlled by a non-corporeal entity, such as a spirit or a soul. I mean, take that where you will in terms of Watchmen, but it's quite fitting in its themes.
Yeah, pretty much symbolises Dr. Manhattan, doesn't it?
Yeah, essentially. And I think this is how, if you were to just sell Doomsday Clock on a sentence, it would be Dr. Manhattan meets Superman.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
Not yet. Maybe he will.
Yeah.
But he dreams of he basically, in this, Clark looks back to, his high school days and sort of, when he was offed by Lana, and like he can't be hurt, but he's sad at the prom, and all this sort of stuff. Like, I don't know if I said to you before, but I've been rereading All-Star Superman, which might be one of my favourite sort of series ever. I think it's unbelievable. I think the imagination in that. I think especially issue 3, where Lois gets given Superman's suit for the day and gets to live with him. I just think it's some of my favourite stuff.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
But this sort of stuff, it's just, I don't know. Sometimes Superman, if it's done badly, can be quite just melodramatic, and this kind of plays that tone for me.
Yeah, it's just kind of, and just the way that it like ends on, I've never had a nightmare before. Like, come on, mate. You would have had a nightmare. Nightmares are just things you worry about. Like, even if, you know what I mean? I've had nightmares of being in school and I've looked down and I've got no pants on. You know what I mean? Like, not in school when I was like 28, you know what I mean? Like, when I was 15. I wasn't dreaming I was in school. Can I just clear it up? I don't dream I'm naked in school. Anyway, you have stupid nightmares like that. So Superman, of course he would have had a nightmare. It's just a nightmare is just your imagination going to dark places. I mean, if Superman's never had a nightmare, has he not seen the Justice League Rotten Tomatoes score? You having that? Mm-hmm. He's never had a nightmare. Has he not seen the CGI mustache that they had to get rid of Justice League? Having that?
I know.
Has he not seen the box office takings for Justice League? Are you having that?
It's just, I sort of know what he's saying, that he's kind of this perfect human, but it's God, like he has just gone through so many adventures, witnessed so much carnage. Like, there's nothing wrong with having nightmares, and it's just kind of, I don't know, obviously it's ominous, it's signifying some sort of great shift in tone, but it's just, again, a bit sort of like, it doesn't play into the character for me. Yeah,
I really don't like when books end on this sort of somber, oh, well, you thought it was this, but it's actually this tone. Like, to me, it's like a lazy way of ending something. It's like, and it's very easy to do in comics. Like, literally, you could get the Incredible Hulk. He's having a dream, and then he wakes up, and Betty Brant, or whatever she's called, I don't know her name. She goes, "Oh, hey, Bruce, why are you sweating?" He's like, I'm not angry. She's like, "Are you angry?" And he's like, "No, that's the thing, Betty. I'm not angry." It's just kind of, it's just kind of.
It's not the best ending, and again we get a quote. This from Horace Smith's translation of Percy Shelley's Ozymandias, or I should say Horace Smith's original. He meets some fragment huge and stops to guess what powerful but unrecorded race once dwelt in that annihilated place. So again, it's not got more sort of comedic, often wry, like taking song lyrics. It's literally an epic poem about literally called Ozymandias. It's like.
Yeah, it doesn't tie into it at all.
No.
Like, and the fact that Johns has Google at his fingertips as well. I kind of get the feeling he just like searched for Ozymandias and quote.
That's so true.
Whereas Moore like hand selected his quotes from like books and records.
He just knew them in his head. Like
yeah.
Whereas
this kind of just is like, oh yeah, I went on Wikipedia the other day and pressed random article.
Control F OZY and whatever came up. I mean, at the end as well, dedicated to Len Wein or Ween, who sadly passed away September 10th this year, 2017. He was the editor of Watchmen, so obviously a huge, incredible, and he's done tons of stuff as well. Just look on the guy's Wikipedia page. You know,
that's
legend.
The best bit of the book.
Yeah,
when they say dedicated to him.
And then we get, I mean, I was curious actually before I open this issue, are we going to get what Watchmen always had, the sort of addendum, the literature? And we do get it to a certain extent.
Yeah.
We get the front page of the New York Gazette, which is teased, which sort of explains where we are in the story. That, you know, Ozzy for many years lived as an ambassador. President Redford. So you got to have the celebrity president, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know, that was...
You've got it.
And just, and then some other stuff as well. There's mentions of Byron Lewis passing away, who was Mothman, I believe. We see Schrodinger's clock and watch repair. It's all very cute references. Let's talk about the guy who gets the journal at the end of Watchmen was brutally beaten in a break-in gone wrong, which is how they describe the murder of the comedian. So maybe Ozzy sort of did something there, who knows, or someone else was at force there. There are tools for there are adverts for a combination plier tool. I don't quite know what that's being advertised. There's Morning Joe's, where the logo looks like Cuphead. I don't know if you've seen that video game, Cuphead. But
no.
Have you not? Oh, you need to check it out, man. Yeah, it's very, very cool. It's like 1930s shoot 'em up.
Okay.
It's really awesome. And that just kind of, I don't really know what they're getting at here. It's just a world building sort of exercise. And that's Doomsday Clock 1, Def. Any closing thoughts?
This feels like fan fiction, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean, they've completely stolen Moore's style for the books, even down to the ending quote. I mean, they've got 11 more issues. I don't know how they're all going to pull it off. What do you mean the other 8 issues is Black Freighter? Oh, and then, fucking hell. I mean...
they've got to bring that back. They're probably going to in some form, aren't they?
Yeah, we'll get some nice cover art, like closing it. One where you see Lex Luthor with his hat, with Ozymandias' hand on his shoulder. But yeah. Batman reading Rorschach's journal. Do you care?
It's
I mean, Rorschach exiting. I suppose the mime. If you look on the last one, maybe the mime is the Joker because it does look quite similar.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. It's, but yeah, I mean, we will be back every month. I'm kind of looking forward to this in a way.
We're going to be back twice a month now.
Twice a month. That's it.
I didn't want to do it this often. I don't like this podcast. I don't like the listeners. I don't like you fucking racist.
Oh shit.
But yeah, we'll rope myself into it now. We better hope this TV show doesn't come out.
There's going to be so much.
We'll be doing too much. I'm not seeing my family anymore.
So, comment, get at us, watchingthewatchmenpod@gmail.com. What did you think of this issue? You know, like you say, there's been a lot of positive response for this, but a lot of it seems a bit clouded by nostalgia. I think if you
We've actually, Alan was just walked in my house. Alan, hello, come here. What do you think of Doomsday Clock? It was shit. What? Oh, why you can't say that, surely. More. How do you like it? You having that one? That's what I say to me fans. Bloody hell, more. Are you drunk? I'm drunk. You're crackers. What the hell are you reading? Oh, just reading Watchmen. What the hell's Watchmen? You know that book you wrote? No, I didn't. I didn't write that. I watched that movie, that Watchmen. That Watchmen. You watched the Watchmen? Yeah, it was great. All right. So you've heard it. Fuck Damon Lindelof. We've just had Alan Moore on the show, and he said he loved the Watchmen movie. So write all your clickbait articles about that. Yeah, there's an exclusive for you. I'll see you later, Alan.
All right, well, Alan will return, hopefully next month.
Ruined the show, didn't it?
But let us know, what you thought about Alan, what you thought about the episode and our discussions. Yeah. Thank you, as always, for listening and for sharing and for digging the show. We really appreciate it. Def, I guess, goodbye, man. And any closing things you want to promo or anything?
Yeah, well, I just want to say I watched an interview with Geoff Johns the other day, and he said thematically that Watchmen was about perception versus reality. It's all counting down to Dr. Manhattan versus Superman, which, it just sums it up, really. When Alan made Watchmen, he wasn't counting down to a big fight. He wasn't counting down to a big, payoff. Nowadays, it's just all about the headlines. It's just all about who can we make fight who, and it's very shallow. But yeah, I really enjoyed the book.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, if anything else, as a companion to sort of go through and compare and contrast and just appreciate. And it's cool that something's coming out in real time that we can listen to. So let us know. But as always, guys, thanks for listening. And Def, cheers again, man.
Take care. Much love. Good night.